Hey, everybody, welcome to Over 50 Starting Over. It's June 25th, 2021. And do you know what that means, Merle? Oh, by the way, I'm Barry Edwards, and you.
And I'm Merle Garrison. Do I know what that means?
It's UFO Disclosure
It's ET Day.
Yes. And first thing, before I even went to the gym, I got online and looked to see what I could
Did
find.
you see anything?
Nothing. 2 minutes ago, I looked again.
Nothing.
Oh, if I don't see,
I'm very suspicious, Barry.
Are you? They got so much they could disclose. Just give us a little bit and act like it's something, you know?
Right. Well, I understand. I think they've got a lot of information, but I don't think we're getting any of it today. And here's why. It's Friday. Friday is a terrible news day.
I thought that's when you put news out that you wanted to go to sleep, because it's a weekend.
Right. So it could be either way. It could be that a sleeper, or it could be that aliens run our government, and that they have been doing it for the last 20 years. So it could be either way. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, our former president was from another planet.
I think the current one might be from a different one too.
Yeah, a different dimension. He's half in, half out.
Yeah, for sure. We've had a run here for sure. That's
for a long time.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing whatever they have here today. I just don't have my hopes up on this.
Me either at all.
Yeah. Oh well, what are we gonna do?
I don't know. Anyway. I wish we'd get our socks blown off.
Yeah. I mean. I can't even imagine.
They're having a beer for happy hour, and then they roll out this alien and waves at me with his 3 fingers, at the camera. That'd be great.
Or you got Geraldo Rivera in a flying saucer. We're up here in the flying saucer.
Beam me
These
down.
Dastardly aliens from Mogadishu.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, it's got to start with a Z, like Zunar.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
How about Marvin the Martian? I'll shoot you with my super duper space modulator.
I'm going to destroy the Earth.
All right. So, hey, I got to ride to the gym every day this week. It's beautiful today. And it's supposed to be hot this weekend, though. So anyways, I'm jazzed up. I'm really excited about the podcast.
I was going to ask you about that. Are the mask laws and stuff completely behind you? I think I got a text from you. I did. Just everybody's still wearing masks, or what's going on over there?
I feel like, and to the point now where, when I reach in my pocket to grab my keys, like my bike keys or something, and it's tangled up in that mask that I have in every pocket. It's really, it's burning
funny,
me up.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, I'm ready to get rid of all of them. But because for the most part, I've forgotten completely about them. But I texted you because I went into Whole Foods last week, and, like I always say, I live in little San Francisco here, and easily 90% of the people in Whole Foods were wearing masks. And
90, wow.
That's where it's the political thing, where they're all virtue signaling and judging each other. And if you're not wearing a mask, I'm going to look down on you type thing. I don't care about that. I think it's kind of foolish.
Yeah, I think there's virtue signaling going on, and I also think that there are people out there that are genuinely still afraid. And I think that it has a lot to do with we've had so many mixed messages over the last year, and people don't know what to think, and it's too bad. We have, here in California, we had our mask restrictions lifted about a week and a half ago. 2 weeks now, almost 2 weeks.
How different is it?
It's not that different,
right? That's what I figured. Yeah, people will be slow to adapt where you're at.
They're very slow to adapt. I think people are nervous, first off, of being judged by other people.
That's what I mean.
I also think that they're afraid as well. And I think it's going to take some time for us to get through this. I personally am excited to go into stores without masks on and everything. But I actually want to be kind to other people and help them to realize that, hey, you can do this. And I think
it's a brave new world.
Smiling at people is a really good thing.
Yes, it is. They miss the smiles. They don't even know it.
Right. Yeah. They haven't seen them, and you flash your smile at somebody, and it just warms them right up. So that's my recommendation: is smile. you're not wearing a mask, smile at people and help them along, because we gotta help each other through this whole thing.
We sure do. Hey, in this upfront section, I want to mention that Susan and I just landed a new client, and it has everything to do with the automating your social media posts with Buffer. I did a segment a couple weeks ago about how I automate my own social media posts. Do you recall that? And I spliced that out as a 15-minute segment, and I put so that I could use it on my edwardscom.net website.
Right on.
And put a little write-up with it. So now it's part of my social media post rotation. And everything that I show in there is what we're doing for this new accountant client. And but up front, we need to develop a lot of content for him because he doesn't have a lot of much original content. Now, what I do for my own social media posts and my dentist and a couple others, but these two I do the same way. And this guy, the new accountant client, I'm going to do the exact same way, is build up enough posts so that I can post 2 original posts and 2 curated posts, meaning shared content, high quality. So 4 posts a day throughout all of our social channels. And with him, it's probably going to be Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay. And by the way, I got to tell you something that blows my mind. So I share all my posts like this on all of those channels and Pinterest and something else. And I get way more traffic from Twitter than I do even Facebook, which I'm shocked by. And I get quite a bit from Facebook. I never tweet ever. I just push out the content.
Yeah. So tell me more about that. So you're pushing out content on Twitter, and why do you think, what gives on that?
Well, maybe it's the quick bites so that you have so little, like you're not really throwing out a big blog post or anything. It's just a tease. So, if they see how to automate your social media post with Buffer, I'm going to sneeze. Then that's kind of interesting. And they see a video is along with it. I guess, it's like, I guess, you know what? I don't know. I don't know. Twitter is a strange phenomenon to me.
I gotta admit, Barry, I still am a Twitter idiot. I don't know what I'm doing there, because I look at the little icons down there and I'm not sure, what am I supposed to do down here? And it doesn't seem as intuitive as like LinkedIn or even Facebook when you're sharing things. And I just don't really get it. However, I have found that you can get news on Twitter that you can't get anyplace else. Oh my gosh. And especially if you find some of your favorites out there that you like to follow, and following them. That's the one thing I've been able to do on Twitter is follow certain reporters that I like, even politicians that I'm interested in. And it's interesting to see what bubbles up from them. And they are always linking to other articles. So I find that there's some great, and I didn't really realize that until I heard Dan Bongino talking about it one time, and he was recommending some journalists who are actually journalists now. That's a rare thing these days, and to follow, and where he was getting some really great information. And so, in this day that we're in, and you and I talk about this all the time, that you're just not going to get what you need to get out of the typical news media, and you've got to find alternate sources. And I'm finding that Twitter is a really good place to find it, even though we know about all the censorship that's happening on Twitter. So
there's that. When I think of Twitter, though, I think of people fighting, and they're doing their online road rage and cancel culture. There's a good reason to stay off Twitter right there. Cancel culture.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree. And then, that's what they're all about. And at the same time, I've been able to find some really interesting information, especially during the time when we had those, it wasn't Occupy, but remember the zone the free zone they had up in Washington State. Yeah. Well, I think it was, there were several reporters that were embedded in that whole thing that were posting on Twitter. It It's pretty amazing stuff. I mean,
Wow.
mind-blowing stuff.
Well,
So,
I like what you're saying because you're talking about productive, proactive ways to use Twitter and
right.
without being falling into the rabbit hole, the downside.
Boy, and that's the whole thing too, is these social media sites can be very useful, but they have a hook in them that can drag you down into a rabbit hole that you might not. It's a slippery slope. You
I
might
got a
not
lot
be able
more
to
to
come
say
up out of there.
That's
Go ahead, Barry.
that's a good segue for what I want to talk about in our. I don't call it the metaphysical segment anymore because I think that either bores people or confuses.
Metaphysical.
Yeah, yes, but it's our in between. But just to finish up, so with the accountant, we have to develop a lot of content, and so what do you do? Like share, all tips. Yes, we're going to share tips, like make it digestible. 5 tips to get ready for your tax season. Things like that. Sure,
Nice.
but I'm going to come up with about 5 different things. Case studies are always number one with all my clients. I tell them we got to do case studies because you'll always talk about a unique situation that you would never think about otherwise. Everybody's got a unique situation. They're individuals. And it also gets you to talk about different cities within your town that you will then want to target, and it ups your search engine optimization for your website if you push your content through your website then out to social media, which you should.
So Barry, let me get this. Let me make sure I have this because this sounds so cool. And I know we talk about this all the time, but for this particular client, what we're talking about is a campaign, right? That it would be. He has content. He's not just throwing all his content out at one time. He's doing like a drip campaign.
It is. There you go. That's right.
And getting bits of value out there that people can consume easily, and then we're so scatterbrained these days that we got to keep that coming in a consistent basis, not every couple minutes, but maybe every day. Is that what we're talking about? Something that's day or
super important because he said to me, and he's admittedly, he doesn't know much about social media. His wife is a photographer who has somebody do it for her. And she's like, you really need to do this. So he's a novice. And he says, so I imagine putting out like a blog post a week or something. And I said, I imagine putting out, 2 curated posts a day and 2 of our own original posts every day. And he's like, 4 times a day? And I said, absolutely. Because here's why is, first of all, nobody is on social media. Not many people are on social media all day scouring for your stuff. The number one thing to know is like with Facebook these days, the algorithm is that because they want everybody to pay to play. And so your post, if you have 100 people following you, about 8% will see your post. That's not very many. So by putting out 4 a day, you have just a little something dripping out at the different times of day.
Gotcha.
And maybe somebody sees something from you once a day. About how that averages. So I get analytics on everything, and I get to see what works, what posts get more views and likes and shares and all of that than others. But also just it's so discouraging how few people actually even see them in their feed. Like I said, about 8% of your followers. So you try to get more followers for sure. That's very
interesting.
So think about that. You might have thought the same thing. Well, if I put out 1 blog post a week, I'm doing it, man.
But you gotta supplement that with this. It's a 4 times a day kind of ping that you're putting out there. Go ahead.
You hit on it. You hit on it a minute ago where you said it's a drip campaign.
Yes,
that's what it is. So you don't put that thing out there and then it's gone forever. I mean, it is in social media terms, but I use Buffer. There's a lot of different softwares that you can use to automate your social, but I like Buffer. It's been around forever. It's tried and true, so it's not going to disappear. Something I worry about. But so you rotate this. Once you get your schedule set up, I try to get a full month set up. So think about that. 30 times 4 posts. You need 120 posts in order to do a solid month of 4 times a day.
Would you do that on the weekend too, Barry?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Got it.
Every
Interesting.
day. Yeah. So then
Interesting.
it's automated, and you come after, after 3 months, we're going to take about 3 months to build up this content. And
Yeah.
we're really trying to build his brand is what
Right.
we're
Right.
trying to do. And in his case, he wants to always be seen as a boutique or a concierge service of a
But
company.
are you helping him with that? I'm
Yes.
trying to put myself in his shoes and
Mhm.
and thinking this could be overwhelming. Like, how am I going to
Absolutely.
create all this content that's going
Yeah.
to be going out? And all I have is these two things back here.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. So we're going to create a lot of it for him, but with his very lean staff, they're going to be tasked with a few things. So like the case studies,
Right.
I have a proprietary interactive PDF where it's, Friday happy hour. Take 15 minutes to fill this out. One case study of what you worked on for the week. The most interesting
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
15 minutes. And send it to me. So that's one thing. Another thing is I would like to try to get in there once a week for the first few months. And if there's a way I could catch them interacting with a client, I would like them to champion their clients as well. As it's one of our 5 subject matters. So I don't want to push out a bunch of boring stuff. I want to
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's because this could go the wrong way. Is that, boy, all that stuff that comes from Joe
Right.
is so mediocre.
Let's mute that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So I want to wrap it up with that, but I want to, for those business owners out there, I wanted to clarify those things. It's very
Yes.
important. And by the way, I'll put the link in my show notes to my edwardscom.net site where that article, the video, 15-minute video on how to automate your social media posts with Buffer.
Really cool stuff, Barry. I really like that.
Thank
Hey,
you.
I wanted to talk a little bit about experiences this week in
Yes.
business. As we know, business is changing every day, especially because of the COVID restrictions lifting. People are starting to see each other, but I'm still doing stuff on video, online. I mean, I'm trying to get out to talk to people. And I think we're going to have this sort of hybrid situation going on probably in perpetuity. But I had this experience this week where I'm working with one of the VA hospitals out here. And we have been working together for a while on a particular project. So we've all gotten to know each other pretty well.
Cool.
And we're coming into this meeting this week. And one of the customers, I've got me and one of the guys on my team, and then there's 3 people from the VA on, and one of the people from the VA has this beautiful picture that she took in her background, and everybody's commenting on it. And then so all of a sudden everybody starts flashing pictures behind them, and the chief information officer over there puts the picture of the Oval Office behind him. So it makes it look like he's sitting at the president. He looks like the president all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And he's actually the chief information officer. So he's got a lot of authority there.
Yeah.
My engineer was on, and he instantly puts the Star Trek bridge on. So he's
That's great.
Now he's sitting in the captain's chair, and I didn't have anything to put up. I just left this behind me. But so as the meeting continued, my engineer started going into a Visio diagram of the project. Meanwhile, the CIO, I can still see him. I see him go on mute. So you know how it is when you're in this video conference, you're always wanting to look at the camera, right? That's important.
Oh, yeah.
But when somebody else is talking on my team, I'll turn my camera off because I found that can distract other people, or I might get distracted and start doing things without knowing that everybody's looking at me. So
that's a bad look.
It's a big key. Make sure when somebody else is talking on your team, turn your camera off. Let everybody pay attention to that person. We've gotten burned on that before, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now I'm looking at the picture, and this CIO is freaking out about something. He's got himself on mute, and he's waving his hands all around and yelling like this. But I got to say, him being in that Oval Office doing that, there was a thing there, man. That was very powerful. But then he comes off mute, and it turns out he's mad at us. And he starts yelling at us. I got to tell you, I mean, it was like being yelled at by the most powerful person on earth.
So the background is that important.
Yeah, that was it. We were all like, okay. But we were able to work through it. The cool thing about situations like that, Barry, are we always have a method here before we go into meetings. We always have a pre-meeting with my team. I usually have a couple people come with me into these meetings. I always have a pre-meeting to get my guys prepared for what's going to happen with kind of the background. We talk over things. In this particular case, I was getting a feeling that this chief information officer was high on frustration about everything about his job. He's overwhelmed. And I had a conversation with him, and it was very hard for him to stay on track about some this technical assessment that I was trying to talk to him about. And it was just like too many other things were clouding his mind. So I told my team that I feel like this guy might try to blow up our deal. And here's why, but here's our strategy is we'll let him talk. And when I will do the responding to him, and I'm going to talk to him in this particular tone. And what I'll do is I'm going to just reiterate all of the value statements that he himself had locked onto about his business on why he was deciding to do this, and just keep him funneled back there calmly. Well, it was interesting because when this happened, we went into our play. It was like an audible. We went into our play. I started to do this, but in the background, one of my other teammates got one of my vice presidents on the line because of the situation that was happening, which he sent me a message during that. He was going to bring him on and what all the information. So I was able to introduce him in very calmly. Here's Jim Stein. Here's why he's here. Here's why he's going to do. Bottom line, at the end of this meeting, we turned a lemon into a lemonade. We actually became their truly a trusted advisor. Some coincidences also happened. We completely coincidentally, we had one of our technicians at the site, and we also got the CIO to admit that the problems were actually not our problems. They were there were process problems that they had, but we came off as a trusted advisor at the end of this. We advanced our deal. This is everybody's, nodding their heads here, but an interesting way of turning lemons into lemonades. And I find, Barry, a lot of times where conflict happens, these are the best ways for us to solidify our relationships by showing that we stand in the gap. We don't fade back. We might not always be right. We might make mistakes, but it's not necessarily the mistakes that make you. It's how you handle mistakes. It's how you handle things. You own up to anything that you might have done wrong and fix it. That's all. Just be a person of your word.
The way you laid that out makes me think the only thing we're missing are the 5 defined steps of whatever playbook that is that you just laid out. There is, like, what you guys had sounds like it's a process, or you just discovered a process that you need to go into a meeting, be ready for. It's almost like a football playbook.
It is like that. And then we also always have a post meeting as well. So as soon as that meeting is over, we get together, we talk about what went right, what didn't go right, what we could change for next time, what our follow-up items are, who's got which item, and then we break. I mean, this is how we do it every time. It's very effective, actually, to keep the continuity of everything going. Highly recommend that you don't go into these meetings blind. You have a plan, and that you have a debrief afterwards.
I absolutely love what you're saying here, and I want you to follow up on it. Keep it in mind that you can follow up with this on this kind of strategy, because I'm really envious that you're part of this really dynamic team. I truly am. That's working on my own. Now I'm back to working with Susan again, who's been my favorite partner throughout 20 years, but we haven't worked that much together for a few years. And I'm craving teamwork more and more. And you seem like you have a very honest team, that you guys come from a place of honesty rather than manipulation, and just good, hard, clear-headed common sense, I think. But preparedness. Jeez,
this is true. Being prepared, being up on what the latest information is in our industry, and The other thing that we like to do is we like to get to our video conference meetings early, like at least a few minutes early, because what we do, we notice that our customers never get there early. They normally get there a couple of minutes late. So what we do, and we do this on purpose, first off, I like everyone on my team. I mean, let's put it this way. I actually love everybody on my team. I have a great team of experts, but they're also some of the best people, just the best people out there. One of the engineers I work, actually a couple of the engineers I work with have become great friends. One of them I've known for many years, actually. We're all very much like family. So when we come into these meetings, we start talking and we're laughing and everything like that.
That's a good way to get
doing this on purpose. Okay. Because first off, we do this all the time because we love each other. But when the customer comes in, we're normally already laughing about something. And then we were just talking about
bring up the energy.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about how we're getting out into these meetings, but our suits have seemed to have shrunk a little bit. And we have decided that it's because if you hang up a suit for a year, they just shrink. I don't know why.
It's atmospheric.
Yeah, exactly. And so we were talking about that when they started to come on, and they all had something great to say, and we're all laughing and everything. And it's a great way to really start a relationship, especially over video, because it's so much harder to make that connection. But I suggest doing that on site. We do that that's where I got it from. We do it on site. We get into the conference room. We're all talking and everything. They start walking in, trickling in, and we're already having fun. That's a great way to start a meeting.
I got to, once again, I just got to praise you guys. You must have amazing leadership, because when you get hired and you bring somebody in, chemistry's so important.
Oh man, you got that right.
Yeah.
That was at the top of my list, was culture.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And to have a culture of love, as you say, it sounds so corny. God, it's everything. It's everything.
It really is.
You're going to land more sales with that kind of bringing that presence than you are with this. We're going to work really hard. And we're going to, dot our I's and cross our T's.
It's so funny that you're saying that. Is that in my pre-meetings, we go over all the facts. I study the people. I look them all up on different venues. Sure. I try to find videos of them speaking and whatever. I do all of that kind of stuff, and then I download that to my team. Before we in the meeting and everything. And at the end, I always say, okay, the most important thing, let's have fun tomorrow. And we have fun. We have fun because you got to do this, and if you're not having fun, you're probably not doing it as effectively as you could be. And I love what was it? It was a Virgin Airlines. The guy that ran, I forget, he was a real sort of a celebrity of sorts.
Richard, what's his name? The billionaire.
Yeah. And his thing was, if you just take care of the employees and make them as happy as possible, then it's going to trickle down, and your customers are going to feel that, and they're going to crave that, because they're not going to get it anyplace else. It is true. Well, and man, go ahead.
Oh, the other thing is that you bring your customer into that.
That's exactly right.
It's an honest relationship.
Southwest Airlines,
Richard Branson.
That's it. Yeah. And Southwest Airlines was doing the same kind of thing. And I'm telling you, I flew on Virgin. I noticed the difference. It was actually amazing. I became when I was traveling all the time, I was Southwest was my airline. And I'm telling you, they treat you like your family there. And a couple times I had to fly on other airlines and just didn't get that
polar opposite
feeling. Right. I almost felt homesick on a plane coming home. You know what I mean? It was weird.
You're killing it today. You've given us a lot of value, and I really appreciate it. I want you to keep that in mind, because you don't often talk about work. And I got to tell you, I'm really admiring Spoke. I really am, as a company.
I admire Spoke as a company. Yeah. I think they've done a great job. They're not perfect. No company is out there. But, before I came to the company, like I said, culture was very important. And the way that really the executives acted there, and how they personally were reaching out to me in the process, and the things that they were saying, I've got a executive VP here, Don Susi, that really was, he had watched our podcasts and commented on several things that you and I talked about, especially about our about health concerns and things like that. And just was very personally and wanting to be personally involved in my life. And I found after I got hired that it wasn't like, oh, now here's your hammer, start making big stones into little ones. It wasn't like that. Everybody
is so often though.
It really is, right? And so it's, boy, they really have that part right. And the guy I work for, John Wax, he's been so supportive of me. And it's been a tough time too during COVID because nobody's hitting the numbers that they want to.
No.
And we talk about, okay, this is very hard, it's frustrating right now, but we can't let the emotional side drag us down. Like we talked about, the slippery slope. We got to stay focused on our activity. We got to stay focused on our strategy. We as a team, my individual team, we get together a couple of times a week as a team. And the way that John runs his meetings is that we actually run the meeting. And so we're very involved with each other. We're very much lifting each other up all the time.
Nice. Instead of pitting against each other.
We're not on an island. Exactly.
Yeah.
The whole process that our leadership has done throughout COVID, I think is worthy of being written into some type of a textbook.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. If it were me, I'd be writing a blog post about this once a week and eventually transforming that into a book, at least an ebook or something. It's really worthy of that. Ready to segue? I got something interesting.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. This is based on a Jordan Peterson podcast, season 4, episode 32, free speech and the satirical activist. His guest is Andrew Doyle, and he's a British comedian, author, playwright, journalist, political satirist, and the voice of Titania McGrath. Have you ever heard of Titania McGrath?
No.
I can't wait to get to that. A lot of people have.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, probably a couple million people have.
Wow.
I'm just going to briefly go right to the Titania McGrath thing. This guy is brilliant. You would love this podcast, which makes me think of, I was riding my bike this morning and think of, if there's maybe a slogan that would kind of fit us, is we're the podcast for people who hate podcasts.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we cover a lot of ground. And I always summarize these podcasts like, okay, you don't have to go and listen to that for 2 or 3 hours now. I just gave it to you. But I try to pull the best of the best to encourage people to check them out. But then we hit the current events too. So you guys don't have to go sifting through the mainstream media, that nightmare,
It is a nightmare.
Yeah, I don't know. So some of those, if we want to describe what we do here, it's like for people that hate podcasts, and we really do target people over 50. It's kind of a different thing. Okay, so Titania McGrath is a Twitter character. It's his character. So he went on Twitter, and this was several years ago. I think a lot of years ago. And he created the ultimate white privilege, spoiled, wealthy, woke brat of a character. Wow. So picture, a blonde woman from I don't know, suburbia, but very wealthy with her probably trust account, and she uses all the jargons and slogans of woke culture to virtue signal and argue without needing one single original thought. That's what he does with this character, and he did it for years. He got deplatformed. He always talks about her in would that
third person, like that's a different person. Yeah,
totally. He never breaks character, and people get so angry, and so it's really funny. But the point that he brought up is how you don't need to have one single original thought. And this was a serious conversation for about 2.5 hours, maybe, with Jordan Peterson about free speech and the attack on it. And, Jordan, I'm going to just go all over the place because I found this so
this is good.
indulging. Jordan made a point of saying that The problem that we have with many things like free speech and so many other things all of a sudden with this woke culture is we don't have arguments prepared for them because we have taken it as it's an self-evident. The need for free speech. Free speech is what has given the minorities, the women from decades ago and other minority groups, the power to speak up and open up our eyes to needed change. And now we're shutting it down. Now it's being used against us to shut down the majority and shut down free speech and allow literally Marxism to creep in, march in, run in, a stampede in is what's going on right now. So Tatiana McGrath is the one that will, as soon as an argument is being made against whatever ridiculous statement that she just made, all you got to do is say, that's racist. What you just said and everything around, you know what it's like? It's like Fauci's doing it. If you don't believe in what I'm saying, you don't believe in science. What an arrogant thing to say. And now the conversation's over with. I had a friend.
It is for the media, right? Yeah.
Everyone's doing it. I've had friends who were pretty damn normal of our age go on social media on Facebook and say, if you vote for Trump, you're a racist. Well, there's the argument that's over with. If you don't believe in this, you're a racist. They're doing it constantly. You're not going to ever see AOC go and debate anybody because she cannot back up any of her thoughts. And all she'll say is that's racist. If you think that way, that's racist.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an if-then statement.
Total shutdown.
If you disagree, then you're racist. And it's interesting because we've seen this playbook over and over and over and over and over. It's actually getting really old and tired. And I wonder how much longer this can last because Jordan Peterson's right, and whatever that guy's name is,
Andrew Doyle.
Andrew Doyle. He's
brilliant, by the way.
We've taken the ability for people to utilize critical thinking, and so in other words, they can't gather a bunch of facts and then look at those facts and analyze them on their own and come up with a logical conclusion. And in a very quick manner. People, that's a skill. We're not helping younger people to come up with that. And we're seeing it in politics where once anybody is attacked, they go right to, well, you're a bigot or a misogynist or whatever. Nobody wants to be called these names. They don't feel good. And that old sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. It's not true. Names can hurt you, or they could demoralize you. They bring you down. They have a psychological effect. Words are powerful. So how do we get out of this?
Well, for one, we need to turn that boat around because how did we unlearn this? If your defense is to name call, to slap a horrific label on somebody like misogynist, racist, or whatever, then your feet should be held to the fire. You need to explain that. That's a pretty damning statement you just made right there. We need to have dialogue. Somebody's right and someone's wrong here. And if I'm a racist, we want to expose that because I don't want to be a racist. But if you're just calling people racist, then this is slander. This is libel. I mean, this is character defamation. That's serious. That's what needs to happen when somebody pulls that crap out. But what happens is the Twitter mob or whoever, the mob starts like Jordan Peterson rose to fame questioning University of Toronto?
It was.
Well, they just start, or Ben Shapiro going in to do a talk in a university. They blare speakers. It's just don't let them talk. If you want to argue and they say, what's your source? I saw this on Fox News. Well, I can't listen to that. Can't listen to Jordan Peterson because he's been slapped with the radical far right label, which he's not. but that's how you just shut it down. Oh, you can't listen to anything that guy says. But I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, you know what? No, you're exactly right, Barry. As you're talking, I'm just thinking about racism and what racism is. It's really, bigotry and racism are related. They're a little bit different though, because racism is used to is a lot about power and using race to create an advantage over another race, right? And if you are calling somebody a racist, in other words, using race by calling somebody a racist to have power over somebody or a particular race, wouldn't that fit the definition of racism?
Sure, absolutely.
So calling somebody a racist with no substance or no background to destroy that person kind of sounds like racism.
Well, it is. We know that.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to throw that out there because it just seems like labeling everything racist is actually the racist thing to do.
It is.
People are out there talking about a colorblind world, and that was actually Martin Luther King's dream, was that we would be judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin. But there seems to be a popular thing out there that says that not recognizing my color is racist. And I got to say, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. And why does somebody have to recognize my color?
That is racist, of course, but as soon as you open up your mouth, they're going racist. Hey, my buddies, come here, join in, gang up, and to shut down that conversation. We cannot have intelligent dialogue. Now, this is a perfect example. Back to this podcast, because they were talking about, this is very recent, that a scientist, he's atheist, by the way, Jordan Peterson, says, I disagree with a whole lot about his philosophies as a scientist, and they debate and stuff. But he goes, that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. I've read all of his books and I've learned a lot from him, he says. But this guy, Richard Dawkins, the atheist scientist, he posed the question on Twitter. He said, if Rachel Dolezal, if I say her name right, the white woman who was posing as a black person.
Oh yeah.
Heading up
I would have been fooled.
Yeah. But when she got outed as a fake, she's totally demonized for identifying as a black person. But then why is somebody celebrated for identifying with the opposite sex? Okay, if I'm a man and I identify as a woman, I'm a hero now. Right. And I could win Woman of the Year on People magazine. That happened last year.
Yes.
And same with the opposite. If you're a woman and you identify as a man.
Interesting point. Yeah.
And so he said, why not? Then why was Rachel Dolezal demonized for this? He instantly got dismissed as transphobic. No debate, eliminated the entire scientific discussion. He posed it as a scientific discussion. He did not pose it as trolling. He posed, I didn't read it verbatim. I gave a summary.
Right. But it makes so much sense. And this is something that, because of course the federal government and many state governments are talking about reparations for black people. And I thought, well, gosh, if I can identify as anything I want to, I can imagine that the 13% black population would suddenly become 90%.
You're right about that, man. You're right about that. Why you could get away with anything, because this is leading into another thing. So in Canada, the government is instituting the DIE. They like to put it as IDE, but it's diversity, integration, and equity training. Yeah,
oh boy.
We've talked about this before, but listen to this one, because what's his name? Andrew Doyle got screen caps that he found online of some of the slides of this training.
Right.
White supremacy is, I'm glad you're sitting down, Merle. There's a slide. White supremacy is characterized by punctuality, politeness, hard work, perfectionism.
So it's interesting, Barry, that you're bringing this up, because I saw an article I think it was the beginning of the year, from the Smithsonian talking about Black culture and saying those exact words.
I
That the Smithsonian was saying that.
As someone who's got some seriously loving Black friends, I can really I would be so insulted. I'm insulted. It's incredibly insulting.
It's terribly insulting to think that somebody thinks that a Black person can't be on time, that's against my culture.
To work hard, to be polite.
And so this is the racist thing, and it's racism by lowered expectations. That's what it is that. So
bottom of the cellar expectation.
So these people, and we're seeing this type of racism go unchecked all the time. Our president does it all the time. He did it several times this week. He said that Black people are afraid to get the vaccination because of experimentation, and Latinx are afraid to get the vaccination because they're afraid to get deported. I mean, these are the things. So all Latinx are illegal aliens? Is that what's going on? And all Black people have been experimented on? And
I refuse to use Latinx.
That's what he said. I've never.
The Latino community is insulted by it too. This is once again white people coming up with this crap and saying that telling other minority groups what is offensive. Well, Latinx is what the hell?
Who came up with this, right? I mean, it's sort of like the African American thing. Like, that's
falling out of favor
because vote on this.
We realize that there are white people in Africa, and there are Black people in the Caribbean and stuff. It doesn't make any sense at the end of the day. That started back when we were in college, and we talked about it back then. We're like, what?
I'm telling, I'm from Africa now. It is an interesting thing how we do this. It's, Anne Marie worked for the National Indian Health Board, and we're not talking about Indian from India. These are American Indians, and that's what they call the organization. And we actually have a whole Indian health system here that's actually called that, and they're very proud of that whole thing. And but yet we can't say Indian anymore. That's what they say. So they're not upset about the word Indian or anything like that.
Back to free speech. Everything's being shut down. Everybody's offended by everything. We're told we're supposed to be offended by everything.
Well, let me throw something at you about free speech, because this is something that's kind of gotten me a little bit twisted around the axle here. And something I've talked with Anne Marie quite a bit about is, the news and how they are seemingly able to boldface tell lies now. And I've had these debates with Anne Marie about free speech, and she's saying, well, these people, they know they're telling a lie. That should be illegal. And I've been holding on to that. Well, we have something called free speech here, and people, here in this country, truth has a ring to it. And the people that are telling lies are going to get caught in them. The ratings will go down. People won't watch them. They'll get fired. They'll be gone. And so that's what I have been saying for quite some time. But now, as time has gone by, I can see a lot of damage has been done by these lies. And in fact, our whole world has been turned upside down by many of them. And none of these people that have been telling the lies have been fired. They seem to have gotten more popular, or maybe they aren't more popular, but somehow they're still elevated to high levels. Mm-hmm. And so I want to have free speech, but it seems like the rules of capitalism aren't really working in tandem with our free speech any longer. Agreed. And what the heck? And so we can't make free speech illegal. We got to do something different, though, to protect ourselves. It seems like our media is no longer beholden to the citizens. I say it seems like that. Obviously, it's not. Yeah. And really, they're owned by special interests. Many of our news outlets are owned by corporations. We can see how woke corporations are these days. Yeah. So how do we, it's a very interesting dilemma we find ourselves in, Barry.
Well, to tell you how far it can go, England is always a little bit more left and ahead of us in being that far left. Well, Doyle was talking about the parliament has instituted non-hate crimes. So you could get a citation issued against you if a person of race, gender, sexuality, or disability is offended by something that you say. They can report you and you will get a citation, a mark against you, a legal mark against you without a trial. There are no fines. It's not considered a misdemeanor or a felony, but it is a legal mark. And he says, so, you go to get a job teaching and they look this up, and somebody of race that pulled the race card and said they were offended by what you said, and you're not getting that job.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's
not
crazy.
going away either. Yeah.
And he said
that's sort of like getting a scarlet letter.
They said that they had a billboard that it was issued by something like the Defense Department or something, but it said in giant letters, to be offensive is an offense. And it had all of these cops standing in front of these letters with masks on and stuff like that. So the cops were all bought into this as well. This whole, to be offensive is an offense. Now you cannot have any intelligent discussion.
This is so Orwellian.
Yes, it is.
I saw something interesting, and you're actually seeing this a lot. It was an executive that was filmed in an altercation with another person who happened to be gay, and it was apparently it was inaudible, but somehow this went viral, and they were saying that he said something offensive about gay people, so they fired him, and but it wasn't on his job or anything. He said that no, I never said that. They're saying I said something I didn't say. You can't hear that on the film, but the company came back and said that one thing we won't tolerate is intolerance. Mm-hmm. And so they fired him. And I just got to say that the thing that you won't tolerate is intolerance. So in other words, people in the company should be very tolerant. So this guy says something that you don't like and you fire him.
Total hypocrisy.
But isn't that intolerance? I mean,
it's just so like crazy. What you said a few minutes ago about people calling other people racist is actually racist in the way that they're using it. So I want to wind this up with saying that this was a discussion about Andrew's book called Free Speech and Why It Matters. And I will put a link to this podcast because I really suggest everybody listen to it. It's just so important. Peterson made a remark that I thought was very, very poignant. He said that comedians and artists are like the canaries in the coal mine.
They really are.
Yeah. And all through society, when you see propaganda start to take over and free speech start to be taken away, which actually I think we're the first country to ever actually have free speech. But yes, that's when you better get scared, is when comedians start getting scared. You better start getting scared. And he says he can't even believe that we have free speech, that we actually are innocent until proven guilty, that you can go bankrupt and then get a new start. All of these things. He goes, it's so improbable that we can even have this, but it's so easy to have it taken away. Mm-hmm. It's something that every generation has to fight for. And it's so easy to let it slip through your fingers. And that's what we're seeing happening right now. So I will leave a link to that. I really hope that some of you listen to that. It's riveting and it's very important. And we need to know, how to be prepared to talk up to that, how to say why free speech matters. We're not prepared with the argument because we take it for granted.
I really love the canary in a coal mine analogy with comedians, because I believe that wholeheartedly. Take Saturday Night Live, see what happened to that show. That used to be a great show. They're not allowed to be funny anymore. It's all got to be this woke kind of humor. Did you see Jon Stewart talking about the coronavirus on one of the late night shows? Okay, you got to look this up. Jon Stewart talking about coronavirus, talking about how the coronavirus, like, look at the name of the lab in Wuhan. It's actually called the Wuhan Coronavirus Research Lab. And he's like, the coronavirus happened. Where could it in Wuhan? Where could it have come from? I don't know. Just, and he has an analogy of, there's chocolate everywhere in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Where did it come from?
That's good.
But as he's saying this, the host of the show, and I can't remember the guy's name, seems to be really freaking out that Jon Stewart is going there.
Yeah.
And as he starts to weigh in, Stephen Colbert, as Colbert starts to weigh in on this and say, well, I don't know, Jon Stewart just goes off with more comedy. Like, it's hilarious and truthful at the same time. And I haven't seen comedians being able to be so forward like that for a very long time. It gave me a lot of hope. But I'm hoping that he doesn't disappear, and I hope that
disappear. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know a lot about
catches on
Colbert, but isn't he a total sellout?
Yes,
into the woke movement.
He's big time on the left, and I mean, it's not like Jon Stewart is like a big conservative or anything.
Totally
like
agree.
that, but he did do some great things for the 9/11 victims, the firemen, and he was nearly heroic in that whole thing. So got a lot of respect for the guy.
Oh yeah, that I wish I would have caught that. That sounds cool. Hey, obviously you heard about that condo collapsing in Miami?
Oh my gosh, isn't that?
Oh my!
Speaking of 9/11, holy cow, that was the way that building went down was very much like the 9/11 scene.
Yeah. I mean, it was just horrific.
Well, they're saying that this particular area is being right on the ocean. It had been redone about, 15 years ago, and they've had problems with sinking in that area for the last decade. I don't know if that's what caused the place to go down, but just looking at it go down, it just seems so unlikely that it could go down like that. Barry's got pictures on the screen. They're devastating. There's 159 people that are still missing here.
Now 4 dead. That's going to go way up.
Oh, yeah. How are these people going?
But you're right. The way that thing went down, they look like 9/11. I just imagine the humidity and the salt water and stuff slowly had its erosive effect.
But it's not an old building, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, it was like 80s.
A newer building, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 80s, but I'm not sure. It was also very interesting to see the damage. Anne-Marie brought this up, that she couldn't see a whole lot of rebar in there. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
And everything just came down just like in basically a big sand pile. And it's like, how could that possibly happen? And here's another thing to think about is, the way that it spontaneously went down, and the way it went down almost seemed like there were explosives that were a part of it.
It looked like it was a
demolition.
A demolition, right?
It really did. And so how in the world, I hear that the president of Paraguay's sister-in-law is one of the missing that was in that building.
Where's Paraguay?
You know, I should have. It's funny because when I heard that, I was thinking, where the heck is Paraguay? And I never looked it up.
There's a lot
of South America, but I'm not sure.
Okay, South America is so huge, and
it's
like we don't know anything about it. We never hear about it, and sometimes I'll go and research a place that I never heard of, and I'll do images, and it looks like Chicago. It's like I've never heard of this place.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a strange place. It's almost like another world down there.
Yes, exactly my point. Yeah. It's very developed. Yeah.
And also there are also notorious areas down there too for serious poverty as well.
Oh, sure.
That we've run into down there. Sure. So like I said, a whole different world. Remember when the Olympics were in was it Brazil? And they had the swimming pool. They couldn't go, so they had to delay the swimming event because there was so much pollution in the pool. It's a beautiful area, but it's been so mismanaged down there, and the poverty is so thick.
But it's so big. I would have
it's huge.
that you could say a lot of the areas have been mismanaged for sure. But I mean, it's so gigantic. There's a lot of countries in there that are, was surprised at how they look like Chicago. I mean, cities they look like Chicago.
Oh, it is huge. It is. Yeah. It's really
got to be beautiful down there, I would think too.
Yeah, right. Well, you always see those Brazilian beach scenes, and it does look beautiful down there. I might be being distracted by they're beautiful people down there, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Anyways, with current events, whatever you want to talk about, I just got a couple silly things. Did you hear about the Redneck Rave in Kentucky?
No. No, that didn't come up on my news feed.
Oh my God. A man's throat slit, a woman choked, and 48 people charged.
Whoa.
They have this yearly rave in Kentucky in this like no-name town that is known for nothing else. I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere, and trying to pull something up on this. But it's just this year. Everything's so violent this year. And
I'm telling you.
Yeah, so this is on the New York Post. Man's throat slit, woman choked, 48 charged in the Redneck Rave in Kentucky.
Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't know what else to say about it. I just thought it was it's horrific for sure.
That is.
At the same time, it's the Redneck Rave thing is kind of funny. Look at this.
Yeah, I never even don't go to one of those.
I would not be caught. I would be caught dead if I went to one of those in Kentucky.
So today, Kamala Harris is going to be down in Texas today, visiting El Paso, visiting the border.
Finally.
We had, but it's something I didn't cover last week that I had in big letters on her notes is Trump going to U.S.-Mexico border as Kamala avoids going. Biden's border crisis worsens. So that was the headline from last week.
Yeah.
And I wonder why Kamala's going.
Yeah.
So she had to get there a couple of days before Trump got there.
Yeah.
I just think that's so crazy that it's so crazy transparent that, oh my God, Trump's going down here. We have to get there a couple days before so he doesn't show us up. But I think it's going to be a disaster, Barry, for Biden and Kamala Harris here. I don't think it seems like Harris has done a terrible job.
Absolutely.
I mean, just avoiding the whole place. She went down to Guatemala a few weeks ago. The Guatemalan president said, here's the reason everybody's leaving, you. Yeah. And, so that didn't go too well. And now she's going to El Paso, where the problem isn't really there in El Paso. It's more down into the southern area of Texas.
Yeah, where she won't go. Yeah.
But this is where she's not going to go there. That's where Trump's
probably
going,
wouldn't make it out. Yeah.
This is going to be the tale of two cities here from the optics that you'll see under the Harris visit compared to the optics that you'll see under the Trump visit. But man, Barry, besides all the politics on this, last month we had over 180,000 people cross that border. That is a 674% increase over last year and a 21-year high. And, we're talking about Reno in a couple of episodes ago. Remember what I said, the population there is about 250,000. Think about that. A city, almost the entire population of Reno came across the border in April. So we added another city of people. Every month we're adding another city of people. Let's try to put this into perspective here.
Oh, I'm with you.
How in the world is this sustainable?
It's not.
And when you start to look at the human atrocities that are happening at the border because of the drug coyotes and also the human trafficking that's going on, this is real. This is very real, and we are not taking this seriously at all. We need to get rid of the politics on this and look at the terrifying things and who's getting hurt the worst? It's kids. Kids are getting hurt the worst.
And back to free speech.
Yes.
Our media is manipulating this, as you said. So we're not taking it seriously because it's not in the face of most people. It's all spun differently. We don't see most of this. This is why podcasts, long form conversations like this are so important, so that we can talk about this kind of stuff more in details. And to contrast Kamala Harris with what we talked about with your company Spoke, and to come from a place of love, honesty, integrity, and authenticness. They're none. That Biden administration is absolutely none of that, especially Kamala Harris, which is why no one likes her. Is there's nothing authentic or real.
Yeah, she's not a real person. Yeah, she's all like show.
Yeah, and that cackle every time she wants to try to blow something off, she does that cackle, and it makes my skin crawl.
Did you see her interviewed with Lester Holt a couple of weeks ago, where he was pressing her about, well, you haven't gone to the border, and she goes, well, I haven't gone to Europe either.
Yeah,
and he goes, yeah, but you haven't gone. I'm not sure what the point is. We've got wow. It seems to me like the media might be turning a little bit, because that was Lester Holt's a friendly, right? Like,
I know.
He put her
for
on
him.
That
Was hardball for him.
Yeah, it was. Did you happen to see? Let's see. Biden's given a couple of speeches this week that have not actually gone very well for him at all. Yeah. The first one on gun control, I thought. Holy cow.
Here we go with that diversion. No.
Yeah. And this was all about the violence that's been escalating. I mean, gosh, we have cities like Los Angeles where the murder rate is at, 200% of last year. But all the other crime, theft, robbery, rape, all these terrible crimes, all of them have gone up. And so Joe Biden's solution is let's do gun control. I mean, it's not the guns that are causing the problem. Go ahead.
Merle, the honest everyday citizens are buying guns at record rates right now because of what's happening.
That's exactly right.
It tells you what's going on.
Well, here's an interesting statistic, is that actually over the last 2 decades, gun sales have escalated while crime has consistently gone way down up until about a year ago. About a year ago, gun sales even escalated more, but violent crime actually started to escalate at the same time, where we hadn't seen that in decades. So it all happened right around the George Floyd death.
Defund the police. You better get a gun. Protect yourself.
So it's pretty easy to pinpoint exactly what the problem is.
Common sense.
When Joe Biden comes up and tries to tell us that it's the assault weapons that are out there. By the way, most violent crimes that are happening aren't happening with assault weapons, that are happening with handguns.
Yes.
They won't go after that.
Black crime too.
Yeah, they won't. And he's talking about these classes and everything to get the community involved in. This is a bunch of horse crap. Mm-hmm. And by the way, the delivery in the speech was terrible. He's talking about, when the Second Amendment came out and how ridiculous it is about trying to fight against the government because you're going to need F-15s and nuclear weapons in order to fight the government. That's
scary.
This is a pretty scary thing for the president of the United States to be talking about. But even more scary is Swalwell, Representative Swalwell comes out with a tweet right after the speech and says, and it would be it would be a quick war, my friends. It would be a quick war. We have nukes. They're legit. I'm sure if we came together, we could come up with common solutions to protect our family. So here's a guy pointing a gun at you and saying, I'm sure we could come up with common solutions as we come up with some ideas. Who has ever heard anybody from the federal government threatening its citizens that way, as if the government isn't we the people?
I was just going to say the same thing. We the people. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, governed by the people. No, they don't seem to realize that anymore. We got to lighten this thing up.
Right on, Barry.
Yeah, and Ellen has something super light here, but I think it's worthy. I think I just saw this morning. Transgender hurdler is banned from competing in the U.S. Olympic trials. And I think that this is, while I don't mean to disparage this person at all, I really don't, but I find this to be positive news in the fact that we actually have protected women here.
That's how I see it.
Correct. Okay. After she fails to prove she can meet the testosterone requirements. And so, hey, man, we got testosterone requirements. Thank God I didn't really know that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me
Just
neither.
a couple bullet points. USA Track and Field will not allow transgender runner Cece Telford to compete in the women's 400-meter hurdles at the U.S. Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon. World Athletics required transgender women to get their testosterone levels below 5 nanomolars per liter for a span of 12 months before they can be considered. So I'm happy to know that we have some policies protecting women. I didn't know where that would be. I think that's a win for women.
I absolutely agree with that. Now we've got somebody that's going to be in the BMX racing, who is a transgender woman, who is apparently she's going to be competing, but she says that if she wins a medal, that she's going to burn the American flag on the podium because of what America has done to the trans children, whatever that means.
All I got to say about that is it's never been a better time in all of world history for a trans person, gay person, a black person, Asian person in America.
Yes,
never been a better time in history.
Can't argue with that. Cannot argue with that. And I think it would be, I would hope that if she does win a medal, that she would be prevented from doing that. But then there's all kinds of other
That's free
things.
Speech. That's free speech.
You're winning a medal. You're winning a medal, and yet you're a trans woman, and then you're going to burn a flag. How outrageous to do something.
You had the opportunity.
Yeah. You should be. I would think you'd be grateful, but whatever. I kind of hope that she doesn't win a medal.
I kind of hope she does win the medal and burn the flag, and because I would like to say I celebrate free speech, and that is the extent. And I will say that she has that right now. She's looking at everything completely ass backwards, but she has that right.
She has. I mean, I guess that she has that right in another country. I don't know what the rules are for that kind of thing, but I'm disappointed that somebody would be going to the Olympics to win a medal so that they could do that. That seems
I totally know what you mean, but that's why we have.
I hear what you're saying too. Yeah.
All right, we got to wrap.
I've always said that if the KKK wanted to demonstrate at the park across the street, I would hate it, but I wouldn't stand in front of them because I'm a Christian. That means I could go over there and talk about Jesus if I want to, and that's what free speech. That's the beauty of free speech.
That's absolutely right. Okay, with that, we're going to wind up, but go into our after show if you care to join us with that.
Very good.
On the podcast. It'll launch on Monday. Okay.
Yeah. Great
See
stuff.
you next week. Go to over50startingover.com, sign up and get this right to your email box as it happens. See ya.